Hey everyone, I need to get something off my chest and I figured this is the best place to share it. Buckle up because this story is wild and it is only the beginning. So, I've been married to my wife Lisa for about 6 years, no kids, just us and our 2 dogs. Life was good, or at least I thought it was. Lisa was always a bit of a free spirit, which I loved about her. She was confident, outgoing, and had this infectious energy that drew people to her. But lately, things had been off. It all started with small changes. Lisa began staying late at work more often, claiming she had extra projects to finish. At first, I didn't think much of it. She's always been ambitious. But then she started dressing differently, sexier, low-cut tops, tight skirts, and she even started wearing makeup more often. I noticed, but I didn't say anything. Maybe she just wanted to feel good about herself, right? But then there were the lies. She would tell me she was going out with her friends, but when I tried to reach her, she'd be unavailable for hours. When she did come back, she'd have the most elaborate stories. One time she told me she got lost on her way home because she took a new route to avoid traffic. Another time, she claimed her phone died, and she couldn't call me. Each story was more outlandish than the last. One night, things took a turn. Lisa had gone out with her friends again. I was scrolling through social media, feeling a bit bored, when I saw a post from her best friend, Sarah. It was a picture of Sarah at a bar, having a drink, alone. I texted Sarah, casually asking if Lisa was with her. Sarah responded almost immediately, saying Lisa hadn't come out with them tonight. My stomach dropped. I waited for Lisa to come home, feeling a mix of anger and dread. When she finally stumbled through the door, smelling like alcohol and cheap perfume, I confronted her. She denied everything, swearing up and down that Sarah must have made a mistake. But I could see it in her eyes she was lying. The next few days were a blur. I couldn't focus at work. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I knew something was up, but I had no proof. That changed when I found a suspicious receipt in her purse. It was for a fancy restaurant across town, dated the same night she supposedly went out with Sarah. I had never even heard of this place. I decided to dig deeper. I started keeping a closer eye on her, noting every inconsistency, every strange behavior. It wasn't long before I found more receipts, more lies. Lisa was meticulous, but she wasn't perfect. I began to piece together a pattern. One Friday I decided to follow her. I told her I had a late meeting at work and that I wouldn't be home until late. She seemed relieved, which only fueled my suspicion. I tailed her from a distance as she drove across town to a fancy hotel. I parked nearby and watched as she met a tall, dark-haired man in the lobby. They embraced, and he kissed her passionately. My heart shattered. I took pictures, needing the evidence to confront her. I sat in my car for what felt like hours, rage and hurt boiling inside me. When I finally went home, Lisa was already there, pretending nothing was wrong. I didn't confront her that night. I needed to plan my next move. I reached out to a friend of mine who was tech-savvy and asked him to help me set up a camera in our house. If Lisa was going to lie to my face, I needed undeniable proof. My friend agreed, and within a few days, we had hidden cameras set up in the living room and bedroom. The first night, nothing happened. But on the second night, while I pretended to work late, Lisa brought the man home. Watching them together on my phone was like a knife to my heart. They laughed, they kissed, and they went to our bedroom. I felt a mix of fury and betrayal that words can't describe. I didn't confront them immediately. Instead, I gathered all the footage, all the evidence. I knew I wanted revenge, but I needed to plan it carefully. I decided to share the evidence with everyone we knew. Friends, family, her colleagues. I wanted everyone to see her for what she truly was. I started with a few close friends, sending them the photos and videos. The shock and outrage in their responses were just the beginning. Word spread quickly, and soon everyone knew about Lisa's infidelity. I thought I was ready for the fallout, but I had no idea what was coming next. This is just the beginning, folks. Buckle up because things are about to get a whole lot crazier. After sending the evidence to our close friends and family, the reactions were explosive. My phone blew up with calls and texts from everyone we knew. Friends were shocked, family members were outraged, and Lisa's colleagues were in disbelief. It was like dropping a bomb and watching the pieces scatter. Lisa found out pretty quickly. It is hard to ignore when everyone around you starts treating you like a pariah. She came home one evening, her face pale and her eyes red from crying. She demanded to know what I had done. I didn't hold back. I told her I shared the evidence of her affair with everyone we knew. She looked at me with a mix of anger and hurt, but I was past caring about her feelings. "You ruined my life!" she screamed at me, tears streaming down her face. "No, Lisa," I replied coldly. "You did that all on your own." She tried to explain, to justify her actions, but I wasn't interested in hearing her lies anymore. I told her to pack her things and leave. She begged me to reconsider, claiming she made a mistake and that she still loved me. But I had made up my mind. There was no going back from this. While Lisa packed, I went through the messages and comments I had received. The support from friends and family was overwhelming. They were furious on my behalf and expressed their disbelief at Lisa S.'s betrayal. Some of her friends even reached out to apologize for her behavior, saying they never expected her to do something like this. But then, something unexpected happened. A message from Lisa S.'s boss. Apparently, Lisa had been having an affair with a client from her company. Her boss had received the evidence I shared and was furious. The company had a strict policy against fraternization with clients, and Lisa was immediately fired. The news of her job loss spread quickly. Her reputation was in tatters, and people started distancing themselves from her. The man she had been seeing, let us call him Mark, also faced consequences. His wife found out about the affair from the same evidence I shared. She kicked him out and filed for divorce. Mark tried to contact Lisa, but she ignored his calls and messages, probably too overwhelmed by her own problems. Lisa S.'s life was falling apart, and she had no one to blame but herself. She moved out that night, taking only a few of her belongings. I watched her leave, feeling a strange mix of satisfaction and sorrow. This wasn't how I envisioned my life turning out, but there was no denying the sense of justice I felt. I spent the next few days in a daze, trying to process everything that had happened. The house felt empty without her, but I couldn't bring myself to miss her. Every corner of the house was a reminder of her betrayal. I considered moving, but I wasn't ready to make such a big change just yet. One evening, I got a call from a mutual friend. She wanted to meet up and talk. I was hesitant at first, but I agreed. We met at a local coffee shop, and she told me that Lisa was struggling. She had moved in with her sister, who wasn't exactly welcoming. Lisa was depressed and regretting her actions, but I couldn't bring myself to feel sorry for her. Our friend then dropped a bombshell. Lisa was pregnant. She wasn't sure if the baby was mine or Mark S. The news hit me like a ton of bricks. If the baby was mine, it complicated everything. If it was Mark S., it was just another layer of betrayal. I agreed to meet Lisa to talk about the pregnancy. We met at a park, a neutral place where we could have some privacy. She looked exhausted, her once vibrant energy now replaced by a dull, defeated demeanor. She told me about the pregnancy, her voice trembling with fear and uncertainty. "Whose is it?" I asked, my voice devoid of any emotion. "I don't know," she admitted, tears welling up in her eyes. We agreed to do a paternity test once the baby was born. Until then, I told her I didn't want any contact. She begged me to reconsider, but I stood firm. I needed space to think, to process everything. As I walked away from her, I felt a strange sense of relief. This wasn't over, but I was ready for whatever came next. Little did I know the twists and turns were far from over. The story was only just beginning, and the next chapter would bring even more unexpected events. After agreeing to the paternity test, I tried to get back to some semblance of normalcy, but it was hard. Everywhere I went, people whispered, looked at me with pity, or avoided me altogether. Lisa S.'s affair had become the juiciest gossip in our social circle. A few days after our meeting at the park, I received a call from Sarah, Lisa S.'s best friend. She wanted to meet up and talk. I was hesitant, but my curiosity got the best of me. We met at a small cafe, and Sarah looked more nervous than I had ever seen her. "What's up, Sarah?" I asked, trying to keep things casual. She took a deep breath. "I need to tell you something, and it's not going to be easy to hear." My stomach dropped. What more could there be? Just tell me. Sarah explained that she had known about the affair for months. Lisa had confided in her, swearing her to secrecy. Sarah had tried to convince Lisa to come clean, but Lisa refused, insisting she could manage everything without me finding out. When I sent the evidence, Sarah had been racked with guilt for keeping Lisa's secret. "I should have told you," Sarah said, tears in her eyes. "But I thought Lisa would come to her senses. I was furious. You were supposed to be my friend too. How could you keep this from me?" She apologized repeatedly, but I couldn't get past the betrayal. I left the cafe feeling even more alone than before. The people I thought I could trust had all let me down. That night, as I lay in bed, I started to piece together all the lies Lisa had told me over the past year. I remembered the business trips, the late nights at the office, and the mysterious phone calls. It all made sense now. She had been living a double life, and I had been blind to it. The next day, I decided to dig deeper into Lisa's life. I needed to know the full extent of her deceit. I started with her social media. I hacked into her Facebook account and found hundreds of messages between her and Mark. They went back months, detailing their affair in sickening detail. They had met at a work conference, and it quickly escalated into a full-blown relationship. Reading their messages was like pouring salt into an open wound. They had made fun of me, calling me clueless and naive. They had planned weekends away together, using Lisa's business trips as cover. They even talked about a future together, discussing what they would do once Lisa left me. But the worst part was the photos. There were dozens of pictures of them together, some in places Lisa and I had visited, others in hotels and restaurants I had never heard of. They looked so happy, so in love. It made me sick to my stomach. I took screenshots of everything, compiling it into a folder labeled Evidence. I didn't know what I would do with it yet, but I knew I needed to keep it. It was my insurance, my proof of Lisa's betrayal. A few days later, I got another call, this time from my lawyer. He had received the divorce papers from Lisa's lawyer. She was trying to get alimony, claiming she couldn't support herself without my income. The audacity of it all made my blood boil. I met with my lawyer to discuss our options. We decided to fight back hard. I handed over all the evidence I had gathered, and he assured me we had a strong case. Lisa wouldn't get a dime from me. In the meantime, the paternity test results came back. The baby was mine. As much as I hated the situation, I couldn't deny my responsibility. I told Lisa I would support the child, but I wanted nothing to do with her. She agreed, looking defeated and broken. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, I received an anonymous email. It contained photos of Lisa and Mark in compromising positions, taken at various locations around town. The email claimed to be from a private investigator hired by Mark's wife. She wanted me to have all the evidence I needed to take Lisa down. I reached out to Mark's wife, and we met for coffee. She was a strong, determined woman who had been blindsided by her husband's infidelity. We shared our stories, finding solace in each other's pain. She gave me more evidence, and I promised to help her in any way I could. As I sat there listening to her story, I realized just how deep the rabbit hole went. Lisa and Mark had destroyed not just one marriage, but two. They had lied, cheated, and manipulated everyone around them. But now, the tables had turned. Armed with more evidence than I could have ever imagined, I was ready to fight back. I wanted Lisa to pay for everything she had done, and I wouldn't stop until she did. The next chapter of this story was going to be brutal, and I was prepared for the battle ahead. After my meeting with Mark's wife, Claire, we decided to team up. Both of us had been wronged by our spouses, and we wanted them to face the consequences. Claire was a fierce woman, and together we plotted our revenge. The first step was to make sure Lisa and Mark felt the full weight of their actions. Claire and I pooled all the evidence we had gathered, the messages, the photos, the receipts, everything. We planned to release it in a way that would leave no room for doubt about their infidelity. We started with their workplaces. Claire sent an anonymous package to Lisa's former boss and Mark's current employer, detailing their affair and including copies of the most damning evidence. We knew that the companies had strict policies against this kind of behavior, and we wanted them to face professional repercussions. Next, We targeted their social circles. We created a website and uploaded all the evidence, then sent the link to everyone they knew, friends, family, colleagues, even acquaintances. We wanted to make sure no one could ignore the truth. Lisa and Mark had destroyed our lives, and it was time for them to experience the same. The response was immediate. Within hours, the website had thousands of views. People were horrified, disgusted, and angry. Social media blew up with posts condemning Lisa and Mark. They were unfriended, blocked, and ostracized. The fallout was more than we could have hoped for. But we weren't done yet. Claire had one more card to play. She had discovered that Mark had been embezzling money from his company. It was a risky move, but we decided to go to the authorities. We handed over the evidence, and within days, Mark was under investigation. The final blow came when I served Lisa with the divorce papers. My lawyer had crafted a brutal case, using all the evidence to ensure she wouldn't get a penny from me. When she saw the papers, she broke down in tears, begging me to reconsider. But I was done with her lies and manipulation. In the midst of all this, I tried to focus on my own healing. I went to therapy, worked out, and spent time with supportive friends and family. It was tough, but slowly I started to feel like myself again. One evening, Claire called me with some news. Mark had been arrested for embezzlement. The company had found enough evidence to press charges, and he was looking at serious jail time. Lisa, on the other hand, was struggling to find a job. Her reputation was ruined, and no one wanted to hire her. I should have felt satisfied, but instead I felt a strange emptiness. Revenge had consumed my life, and now that it was done, I didn't know what to do next. I had won, but at what cost? A few weeks later, Lisa reached out to me. She wanted to talk, to explain herself. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her. We met at a quiet park, and she looked worse than I had ever seen her. Gone was the confident, vibrant woman I had once loved. In her place was someone broken and lost. "I'm sorry," she said, tears streaming down her face. "I know I can fix what I did, but I need you to understand why." I listened as she poured her heart out. She talked about feeling unfulfilled, about seeking validation from Mark, and about the lies spiraling out of control. She claimed she never meant to hurt me, but her words felt hollow. "Why didn't you just talk to me?" I asked, my voice trembling with a mix of anger and sadness. She looked down, unable to meet my eyes. "I was scared. I thought you'd leave me. You made that decision for me," I replied coldly, "and now we both have to live with the consequences." We sat in silence for a while, the weight of everything hanging between us. I realized that I didn't hate her anymore. I was just tired of the lies, the pain, the endless cycle of betrayal. I needed to move on, to find peace. As we parted ways, I wished her well. It was time to close this chapter of my life and focus on the future. I had a long road ahead, but for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful. After my last conversation with Lisa, I decided to make some significant changes in my life. First, I sold the house. It was filled with too many memories, both good and bad, and I needed a fresh start. I found a cozy apartment downtown, closer to work and far away from all the places that reminded me of Lisa and our shattered marriage. Moving day was bittersweet. As I packed up our life together, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness. But with each box I sealed, I felt a little lighter, a little more hopeful about the future. My new place was small, but it was all mine. I decorated it with things that made me happy: artwork, plants, and cozy furniture. It was a new beginning. I also threw myself into therapy. My therapist, Dr. Patel, was incredible. She helped me process the anger, the hurt, and the betrayal. We talked about everything from my childhood to my marriage and even my revenge. She helped me see that while my actions were justified, they had also come at a cost. It was time to focus on healing, not just for myself, but for the baby on the way. Speaking of the baby, Lisa and I maintained a strictly professional relationship. We met with lawyers to finalize the custody arrangements. I agreed to be a part of the child's life, but I made it clear that my involvement with Lisa would be minimal. The baby deserved a father, but Lisa and I were done. It was a tough pill to swallow, but I knew it was the right decision. Meanwhile, Claire and I kept in touch. Our shared experiences had created a bond between us, and we found comfort in each other's company. We started meeting up regularly, sometimes for coffee, sometimes for a drink. What began as a support system slowly blossomed into something more. One evening, Claire invited me over for dinner. She had cooked a delicious meal, and we spent the night talking and laughing. As the night went on, we opened up about our hopes and fears. I realized I hadn't felt this connected to someone in a long time. There was a spark between us, something genuine and real. After dinner, we sat on her couch and the conversation turned serious. Claire looked at me with those piercing eyes and asked, "Do you ever think about the future? About us?" I hesitated. "I do, but I'm scared. We've both been through so much." She nodded, understanding. "I know. But maybe, just maybe, we deserve a chance at happiness." I took her hand, feeling a warmth spread through me. "You are right. We do." That night, we shared our first kiss. It was tender and sweet, a promise of something new and beautiful. We decided to take things slow, to see where this newfound connection would lead. For the first time in months, I felt hopeful about the future. Meanwhile, the fallout from Lisa and Mark S. affair continued. Mark was sentenced to jail for embezzlement, and Lisa struggled to find her footing. She reached out a few times, trying to mend things, but I kept my distance. I wished her no ill will, but I had to protect my own well-being. One day I received an unexpected call from Sarah. She wanted to apologize again and see how I was doing. We met for coffee, and she seemed genuinely remorseful for her part in the deception. I forgave her, realizing that holding on to the anger wasn't helping anyone. People make mistakes, and it was time to let go of the past. As the months went by, Claire and I grew closer. We took weekend trips, explored new hobbies, and enjoyed each other's company. She was my rock, and I was hers. Our bond grew stronger, built on trust and mutual respect. We were determined not to repeat the mistakes of our past relationships. One evening, as we sat on my balcony watching the sunset, Claire turned to me and said, "You know, life has a funny way of bringing people together." I smiled, feeling a sense of peace wash over me. "Yeah, it does. I'm grateful for that." As we held each other, I realized that despite the pain and betrayal, life had given me a second chance, a chance to find love, to build a new life, and to be the father my child deserved. The journey was far from over, but I was ready for whatever came next. Life with Claire was everything I hadn't realized I needed. She was my confidant, my partner, and my best friend. We moved slowly, cautious of the emotional scars we both carried. But with every shared laugh and every quiet moment, those scars began to heal. The baby was due in a few months, and I had to prepare. I set up a nursery in my apartment, choosing colors and furniture with a mix of excitement and anxiety. Claire was a huge help, offering advice and even coming along on shopping trips. She had a natural way with children, and her enthusiasm was contagious. As the due date approached, I knew it was time to have another serious talk with Lisa. Despite everything, we needed to co-parent effectively for the sake of our child. We met at a neutral location, a small cafe where we could talk without causing a scene. Lisa looked tired and worn down. The consequences of her actions had clearly taken a toll. She was polite but distant, and I could see she was struggling to maintain her composure. "We need to discuss a plan," I said, trying to keep my tone calm and professional. "For the baby." She nodded, her eyes downcast. "I know. I've been thinking a lot about that." We talked about custody arrangements, visitation schedules, and financial support. It was a difficult conversation, but we managed to stay civil. We both wanted what was best for the baby, even if we couldn't stand to be around each other. "I'm really sorry for everything," Lisa said quietly. "I know it doesn't change anything, but I need you to know that." I took a deep breath, feeling a mixture of emotions. "I appreciate that. I hope you can find a way to move forward too." With the arrangements made, we parted ways. It was a relief to have a plan in place, but it also solidified the finality of our relationship. There was no going back, only forward. Meanwhile, things with Claire were progressing beautifully. We decided to take a weekend trip to a cabin in the mountains to get away from everything. It was a chance to relax, to breathe, and to focus on each other. The cabin was cozy, with a fireplace and a view of the forest. We spent our days hiking, cooking together, and talking about everything and nothing. One evening, as we sat by the fire, Claire turned to me with a serious expression. "I've been thinking a lot about us," she said, her eyes reflecting the flickering flames. "About the future." I felt a lump in my throat. Me too. She took my hand, squeezing it gently. "I know we've both been through a lot, but I can help but feel like this is right. Like we were meant to find each other." I smiled, feeling the same warmth I always did when she was near. "I feel the same way. I can imagine my life without you now." We shared a kiss, sealing our unspoken promise to each other. That weekend solidified our bond, and I knew that no matter what came next, we would face it together. Back in the real world, things were settling into a new routine. Lisa gave birth to a healthy baby girl, and we named her Emma. Holding her for the first time was overwhelming. She was perfect, innocent, and full of potential. Despite everything, I felt a deep love for her. Lisa and I managed to co-parent without too much friction. It wasn't easy, but we made it work. Emma deserved the best from both of us, and we were determined to give her that. Claire was amazing with Emma. She helped with feedings, diaper changes, and those sleepless nights. She never overstepped, always respecting my boundaries with Lisa, but she was a constant source of support and love. One night, after putting Emma to bed, Claire and I sat on the couch, exhausted but happy. She looked at me with a mischievous smile. "What?" I asked, curious. "I've been thinking," she said slowly, "about the future. Our future." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh?" She took a deep breath. "I love you, I love Emma, and I want to be a part of your lives. Officially." My heart skipped a beat. "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" She nodded, her eyes shining with love. "Yes, I want us to be a family." I pulled her into a tight embrace, feeling tears of happiness well up. I want that too, more than anything. In the following months, Claire and I moved in together. Our little apartment was filled with laughter, love, and the chaos that comes with raising a newborn. Emma brought us closer, and our bond grew stronger every day. We decided to get married in a small ceremony with close friends and family. It was a beautiful day, filled with joy and hope for the future. As we exchanged vows, I couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought us here, the pain, the betrayal, the healing, and finally the happiness. Life wasn't perfect, but it was ours, and together we were building something beautiful. Married life with Claire was blissful. Our little family was thriving, and Emma was growing fast. Her laughter filled our home, and every milestone she reached brought Claire and me closer together. But as with all good things, challenges were inevitable. One of the biggest challenges came from co-parenting with Lisa. While our custody arrangement was clear, emotions often muddied the waters. Lisa struggled with seeing me happy with Claire, especially since her life hadn't exactly improved since our divorce. She had trouble finding stable work, and her support system had dwindled significantly after the fallout from the affair. One day, Lisa called me out of the blue, asking to meet. I was hesitant but agreed, thinking it might be about Emma. We met at a park, the same one where we had talked about the pregnancy months before. Lisa looked more fragile than ever, her eyes heavy with regret. "I've been thinking a lot," she began, her voice shaky. "I made so many mistakes, and I don't know how to make things right." I sighed, trying to keep my emotions in check. "Lisa, we've been through this. What's done is done. We need to focus on Emma and move forward." She nodded, tears welling up. "I know. It's just hard seeing you with Claire, seeing how happy you are. I feel like I've lost everything." I felt a pang of sympathy. Despite everything, I didn't want to see Lisa suffer. "You haven't lost everything. You have Emma, and she needs you. We both need to be strong for her." Lisa wiped her tears and took a deep breath. "You are right. I need to get my life together for her sake." We talked for a while longer, setting clear boundaries and agreeing to communicate better for Emma's sake. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Lisa started seeing a therapist, which helped her slowly get back on her feet. Back at home, Claire and I faced our own set of challenges. Balancing work, parenting, and maintaining our relationship was a constant juggling act. There were sleepless nights, messy diapers, and occasional disagreements, but we faced it all together. One evening, after a particularly exhausting day, Claire and I sat on the couch holding each other. Emma was finally asleep, and the house was quiet. "I feel like we're barely keeping our heads above water," Claire said, her voice weary. I kissed her forehead. "I know, but we're in this together. We'll get through it." She smiled, a tired but genuine smile. "You're right, we always do." As time went on, we found our rhythm. Claire and I took turns taking care of Emma, making sure we both had some time for ourselves. We started having regular date nights again, even if it was just a quiet dinner at home after Emma went to bed. Those moments reminded us of why we fell in love and gave us the strength to keep going. One day, Claire came home with exciting news. "I got promoted," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with joy. I hugged her tightly, feeling proud and happy for her. "That is amazing, Claire, you deserve it." Her promotion came with a significant pay raise and more responsibilities, but it also meant she'd be traveling occasionally for work. We talked about it and agreed that we'd make it work, no matter what. The first time she went on a business trip, I was a nervous wreck. It was just me and Emma for a whole week, and I worried about handling everything on my own. But surprisingly, we managed just fine. I realized I was more capable than I gave myself credit for, and it deepened my appreciation for everything Claire did for our family. Claire's trips became a regular part of our lives, and each time she left, we found new ways to stay connected. Video calls, surprise texts, and little love notes hidden in her suitcase became our routine. It wasn't easy, but it strengthened our bond and reminded us of the importance of communication and trust. Then, out of the blue, another curveball hit us. Lisa called me, panicking. She had lost her job again and was struggling to pay rent. She asked if she could stay with us temporarily until she found something stable. I was torn. On one hand, I wanted to help her for Emma's sake. On the other, I was worried about the strain it might put on my relationship with Claire. I talked it over with Claire, who, despite her reservations, agreed to let Lisa stay with us for a while. "It's for Emma," she said, her voice firm but understanding. "We'll make it work." Having Lisa in our home was challenging, to say the least. There were awkward moments, tense conversations, and a lot of adjustments. But over time, we found a way to coexist peacefully. Lisa respected our space, and Claire showed a level of grace and patience that made me fall in love with her all over again. During this period, something unexpected happened. Lisa and Claire started bonding. They shared stories, laughed about silly things Emma did, and even helped each other with cooking and cleaning. It wasn't the friendship of a lifetime, but it was a start. One evening after Emma was asleep, the three of us sat on the porch, enjoying a rare moment of calm. Lisa looked at us and said, "I just wanted to thank you both for everything. I know I have caused a lot of pain, but I'm trying to be better, for Emma and for myself." Claire smiled warmly. "We all make mistakes, Lisa. What matters is that you're trying to make things right. That is all anyone can ask for." I nodded, feeling a sense of peace. Life had thrown us so many challenges, but we were stronger for it. We had built something beautiful out of the ashes of betrayal and heartbreak. As Lisa continued to get back on her feet, she found a new job and eventually moved out. Our home felt a bit emptier without her, but it was also a sign of progress. She was rebuilding her life, and so were we. Claire and I settled back into our routine, more in love than ever. We had faced our demons, navigated the complexities of co-parenting, and come out stronger on the other side. Our little family was thriving, and the future looked bright. With Lisa settled into her new job and apartment, Claire, Emma, and I settled into our routine. Life was good. There were still challenges, but we faced them head-on, together. Emma was growing quickly, and every day with her was an adventure. Watching her discover the world was a joy I never anticipated. One day, while Claire and I were sitting in the living room, she turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "Have you ever thought about expanding our family?" I was taken aback. "You mean, having another baby?" She nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "Yes, I love Emma with all my heart, and I think it would be wonderful for her to have a sibling. Plus, I think we'd make pretty great parents to another little one. I thought about it for a moment, then smiled back. I think that is a fantastic idea. I've always wanted a big family, and seeing how amazing you are with Emma, I can imagine a better partner to do this with. We started planning and preparing, excited at the prospect of expanding our family. Claire and I both wanted to make sure we were financially stable and emotionally ready for another child, so we took our time, savoring each step of the process. During this time, we also focused on creating new memories and traditions. We took Emma on little adventures to the zoo, the beach, and even a weekend camping trip. Claire and I made sure to carve out time for just the two of us as well, keeping our relationship strong and connected. One sunny Saturday, we decided to have a small barbecue in our backyard. We invited a few close friends and family members, including Lisa. It was a casual gathering, filled with laughter, good food, and a sense of camaraderie. As the evening wore on, Lisa and I found ourselves alone on the porch. She looked out at the sunset and sighed. "You know, I never thought we'd get to this point. Coexisting peacefully, I mean." I nodded. "Me neither, but I'm glad we did. For Emma's sake, and for ours." She turned to me, a serious expression on her face. "I want you to know that I truly appreciate everything you've done. Letting me stay with you, supporting me when I needed it most. I know I hurt you deeply, and I'll never be able to fully make up for that, but I'm trying." I placed a hand on her shoulder. "You've made a lot of progress, Lisa, and that means a lot. We can change the past, but we can do our best to move forward." She smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. "Thank you." The barbecue was a success, and as the last of our guests left, Claire and I sat in the backyard, holding hands and watching the stars. "Today was perfect," she said softly. "It really was," I agreed. "I love our little family." A few months later, Claire and I received the news we had been hoping for, we were expecting. The joy and excitement were overwhelming. We shared the news with Emma, who, although too young to fully understand, seemed excited about the idea of being a big sister. We also told Lisa, who was genuinely happy for us. She offered her support and even started helping out more with Emma, knowing that we'd need the extra hands once the baby arrived. The pregnancy went smoothly, and as the due date approached, our anticipation grew. We prepared Emma for the big change, involving her in setting up the nursery and talking to her about being a big sister. Finally, the day arrived. Claire went into labor, and we rushed to the hospital. It was a long, exhausting process, but in the end, we welcomed a beautiful baby boy into the world. We named him Ethan, and from the moment he was born, he filled our hearts with even more love. Watching Emma interact with her baby brother was magical. She was gentle, loving, and protective, always wanting to help with feeding or changing diapers. Claire and I couldn't have been prouder. The transition from one child to two wasn't without its challenges, but we managed. Claire and I took turns caring for Ethan during the night, making sure we both got enough rest. Lisa continued to be a supportive presence, helping out whenever she could. One evening, as I rocked Ethan to sleep, I couldn't help but reflect on how far we had come. The pain and betrayal of the past seemed like a distant memory, overshadowed by the love and joy of our growing family. Claire joined me, wrapping her arms around my waist and resting her head on my shoulder. "Can you believe how much has changed?" she whispered. I smiled, kissing the top of her head. It's been quite a journey, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. We stood there in silence, watching our son sleep, feeling a profound sense of gratitude. Life had thrown us curveballs, but we had navigated them together, emerging stronger and more united. As the weeks turned into months, our family found its rhythm. Claire returned to work part-time, and I adjusted my schedule to be more flexible. We made it work, balancing our careers, our relationship, and our roles as parents. One sunny afternoon, we decided to have another barbecue, inviting the same group of friends and family. As we gathered in the backyard, surrounded by laughter and love, I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of contentment. Lisa approached me, holding Ethan, who was giggling happily in her arms. "You've built a beautiful life," she said, her eyes filled with admiration. "Thank you," I replied, smiling at her. "It hasn't been easy, but it's been worth it. She handed Ethan back to me and looked out at the gathering. I'm grateful to be a part of it, even if it is just a small part. I nodded. We are all doing our best, and that's what matters. As the evening wore on and the sun began to set, Claire and I stood together, watching our children play. Emma chased after a butterfly, her laughter filling the air while Ethan clung to Claire, his tiny hand wrapped around her finger. I love you, Claire said, her eyes shining with happiness. I love you too, I replied, feeling a warmth spread through me. In that moment, I realized that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together. Our family was strong, built on a foundation of love, trust, and resilience. Our family settled into a comfortable routine. Emma and Ethan brought so much joy into our lives. Claire and I navigated the ups and downs of parenthood, supporting each other through sleepless nights and chaotic days. But just when we thought we had everything figured out, life threw us another curveball. One afternoon, I received a call from Lisa. She sounded anxious and asked if we could meet. We agreed to meet at a local park, the same place where we had so many difficult conversations before. When I arrived, Lisa was already there, pacing nervously. Hey, what's going on? I asked, concerned. She took a deep breath, her eyes darting around. I've been offered a job, a really good one, but it's sus in another state. I was taken aback. Wow, that's big news, congratulations. But what does that mean for Emma? Lisa nodded, clearly struggling with the decision. That's why I wanted to talk to you. I don't want to disrupt Emma's life. She is happy here with you and Claire. I was thinking, maybe she should stay with you full time. The weight of her words hit me hard. I hadn't expected this. Are you sure? That's a huge decision. Lisa's eyes filled with tears. I love Emma, but I need to do this for myself. I've been stuck in a rut, and this job is an opportunity to start fresh. I'll still visit and stay in touch, but I think she's better off with you. I nodded, understanding the difficult position she was in. We'll do whatever is best for Emma. If you think this is the right move, then we'll support it. We discussed the logistics and agreed to make the transition as smooth as possible for Emma. It was a bittersweet moment, knowing that Lisa was doing what she needed to for herself, but also feeling the weight of the responsibility we were taking on. When I told Claire about Lisa's decision, she was supportive but also surprised. That's a big change, but we can handle it. Emma is our priority. We sat down with Emma and gently explained the situation. She was confused and a little sad, but we reassured her that she would still see her mom and that we would make this work. It wasn't easy, but we got through it together. As we adjusted to having Emma full-time, life became even busier. Claire and I juggled work, parenting, and our relationship, but we managed to find a balance. Emma adapted quickly, thriving in the stability and love we provided. One evening, as we were settling down after putting the kids to bed, Claire turned to me with a thoughtful expression. Have you ever thought about having another child? I was surprised but intrigued. Another one? We've got our hands full as it is. She smiled. I know, but I've been thinking about it a lot lately. I love our family, and I think we have even more love to give. I took her hand, feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. If that's what you want, then let us do it. Our family has grown so much already, and I can't imagine life without you and the kids. We decided to try for another baby, and a few months later, Claire was pregnant. The news brought a new wave of excitement and anticipation. Emma was thrilled at the idea of another sibling, and Ethan, although too young to understand, sensed the excitement in the air. During Claire's pregnancy, we made sure to cherish the moments we had as a family. We took trips to the park, had movie nights, and enjoyed the simple pleasures of being together. It wasn't always easy, but we faced every challenge with love and determination. As Claire's due date approached, we prepared Emma and Ethan for the new arrival. Emma was excited to be a big sister again, and we involved her in setting up the nursery and picking out baby clothes. Finally, the day arrived. Claire went into labor and we rushed to the hospital. It was a long and exhausting process, but in the end we welcomed a beautiful baby girl into the world. We named her Lily, and from the moment she was born, she brought even more love and joy into our lives. Watching Emma and Ethan interact with Lily was magical. Emma was a doting big sister, always wanting to help, while Ethan was fascinated by his new baby sister. Claire and I couldn't have been prouder or happier. Our family had grown in ways we never expected, and although there were challenges, the love we shared made everything worthwhile. Life was unpredictable, but with Claire by my side, I knew we could face anything. With Lily's arrival, our home was filled with even more laughter, love, and of course, a bit of chaos. Balancing 3 kids, work, and our relationship was challenging, but Claire and I were a solid team. We supported each other, took turns with the night shifts, and made sure to carve out time for ourselves amidst the whirlwind of parenting. One weekend, we decided to take the kids to a nearby lake for a family picnic. It was a sunny day, and the kids were excited to explore and play. We packed a basket with sandwiches, fruit, and snacks and headed out for a day of fun. At the lake, Emma and Ethan ran around, chasing each other and laughing, while Claire and I set up the picnic area. Lily, bundled up in her stroller, watched her siblings with wide eyes, taking in the new surroundings. As we sat down to eat, Claire and I exchanged a look of contentment. "This is perfect," she said, squeezing my hand. "I wouldn't trade this for anything." "Me neither," I replied, feeling a surge of gratitude for the family we had built. After lunch, we took a walk around the lake, enjoying the peacefulness of nature. Emma found some interesting rocks. Ethan tried to catch butterflies, and Claire and I reveled in the simple pleasure of being together. Back at home, life was a mix of beautiful moments and inevitable challenges. There were sleepless nights, tantrums, and the occasional sibling rivalry, but through it all, there was love and laughter. Claire and I made sure to communicate openly, supporting each other and working as a team. One evening, after putting the kids to bed, Claire and I sat on the porch, enjoying the quiet. The stars were out, and the cool breeze felt refreshing after a long day. "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" Claire asked, leaning her head on my shoulder. "All the time," I replied. "It's been a journey, but I wouldn't change a thing." She smiled. "Me neither. I love our life, even with all the chaos. Especially with all the chaos," I added, chuckling. As the months passed, we settled into a routine. Claire returned to work part-time, and I adjusted my schedule to be more flexible. Lisa visited regularly, spending quality time with Emma and bonding with Lily and Ethan. Our unconventional family dynamic worked because we all prioritized what was best for the kids. One Saturday morning, as we sat around the breakfast table, Emma looked up at us with a serious expression. "Can we have a family game night?" Claire and I exchanged a smile. "Of course, sweetie," Claire said. "What game should we play?" Emma's eyes lit up. "Monopoly!" That evening, we set up the game board in the living room. Snacks and drinks were scattered around, and the kids were buzzing with excitement. As we played, there was laughter, some friendly competition, and a lot of fun. Even Ethan, who was too young to fully understand the game, enjoyed rolling the dice and moving his token around the board. As the game night went on, I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of happiness. These were the moments that made all the struggles worthwhile, the simple, everyday joys of being together as a family. Over time, Claire and I made it a point to create more of these special moments. We had movie nights, built forts in the living room, and went on spontaneous weekend adventures. We learned to embrace the chaos, finding beauty in the imperfect moments that made our family unique. One afternoon, while the kids were napping, Claire and I sat on the porch reflecting on our journey. "We've been through so much," she said softly. "But look at where we are now." I nodded, feeling a lump in my throat. "I'm so grateful for you, for our family. We've come a long way." She reached for my hand, squeezing it gently, "And we'll keep moving forward, no matter what. Together." As the years went by, our family continued to grow and change. There were challenges, of course, but we faced them with love and resilience. Claire and I remained committed to each other, always finding ways to strengthen our bond and support our children. One day, as I watched Emma, Ethan, and Lily play in the backyard, I felt an overwhelming sense of pride and contentment. Our journey had been anything but easy, but it had led us to this beautiful, chaotic, love-filled life. Looking back, I realized that every twist and turn, every moment of pain and joy, had shaped us into the family we were meant to be. Life was unpredictable, but with love, support, and a willingness to embrace the chaos, we had created something truly special. So, to anyone out there facing their own challenges, remember that it's the journey that makes us who we are. Embrace the chaos, find joy in the everyday moments, and hold on to the people you love. Life may be unpredictable, but with the right people by your side, it's always an adventure worth taking.